Hi everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. Welcome back to All Up in Your Business. It's that time of year again, the wonderful time of year which we all really enjoy. Tax time, of course. And so what we're going to do today is talk about some of the important tax forms that you're probably going to have to file, and if not, you should at least be aware of them if you're operating your own business. I'm going to talk about a few that will apply to most of us, and then a few specifics for sole proprietorships / single member LLCs, and then a couple for S Corps, C Corps, and partnerships, or multi-member LLCs. But before we get into all that fun stuff, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Click that little bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video, and you can check the description for links to additional information and resources. And yes, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. The stuff I talk about in my videos should not be taken as a substitute for actual legal advice. If you need help with any legal situation, you should consult with a lawyer who's licensed in your state. Now, with no further ado, let's talk about tax forms. It's so exciting. It's so exciting, you guys. I know this is really something. The first form you might need to file is a 1099 NEC. This will be filed for each non-employee that you paid $600 or more in the previous tax year. So people like independent contractors, freelancers. You may also receive a 1099 NEC if you're a service provider, service-based business. Whether it's received by you or issued by you, you're gonna need to include that 1099 NEC when you file your taxes. Sticking with the 1099 theme, you may also have to file a 1099 MISC or 1099 MISC. You'll have to file this for each person to whom you've paid $600 or more in things like rents, other income payments, maybe medical and healthcare payments, attorney's fees, things like that. The W-2, of course, reports wages and other earnings like tips and withheld income, including taxes like Social Security and Medicare. Another form we're probably all pretty familiar with is Form 1040. This is what form is typically used by U.S. taxpayers to file our individual income tax returns. Along with that Form 1040, we may also need to include a few schedules. For example, Schedule A. This is used if you're going to be itemizing your tax deductible expenses. Not everybody itemizes, but if you do, you'll be using Schedule A. If you're operating your business as a sole proprietorship, or if you're a single member LLC taxed as a sole proprietor, meaning you have not made an election to be taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp, then you're going to use Schedule C. The Schedule C is what we use to report our profits and losses from sole proprietorships or single member LLCs. You may also need to file a Schedule E. This will be if you have supplemental income or loss from assets like rental real estate, royalties, partnerships, S corporations, estates, and trusts. This may not apply to everybody, but it could apply to you. We're also going to want to file Schedule SE. We're going to use this to figure out the self-employment and Medicare tax that we're going to have to pay as a sole proprietor or a single member LLC. And finally, you might need to use Form 4797. This is used to report the sale or exchange of property. So those are the forms that typically apply to sole proprietors, single member LLCs, as long as you have not elected to be taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp. But what if you have elected to be taxed as an S Corp? Then we're going to file Form 1120S. This is used to report income, credit, profit, loss from an S corporation. Or if your business is a corporation or taxed as a C corporation, then you'll use good old Form 1120. Same idea as the 1120S for S Corps, but this one is for C Corps. So we've covered the sole proprietorships / single member LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps. What about maybe the multi-member LLCs or just partnerships, like general partnerships? For those, you're going to want to use Form 1065. This is used to report your income, losses, deductions from a partnership. You'll also need to file a Schedule K1, which is usually issued by the multi-member LLC or the partnership to report each partner's share of the profits and losses deductions from the partnership. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list of every form you might need to file. Every person's situation is different. Your tax situation is different. So there might be other forms you'll have to deal with, or maybe some of these won't necessarily apply to you. Taxes, you know, big secret here, taxes are kind of complicated, and unless you're like a CPA or a tax pro who really loves it, a lot of us don't really like dealing with taxes. So if you can, it's always best to work with a tax pro, have someone help you with all this stuff so you don't need to deal with it. But even if you have a CPA or a tax professional handling all of it for you, in my opinion at least, it's still a good idea to know what forms need to be filed, just for your own knowledge, and so you can kind of, do some double checking, make sure all the forms are there that will need to be included. That's all for this episode, folks. If you learned a thing or two, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that little bell so you don't miss any future episodes of All Up in Your Business, which you're not gonna want to miss those, because the next few I'm doing are all going to be around taxes. So if you're new to business or new to how to do taxes in your business, you're going to want to catch those future episodes coming up, because again, all about taxes. If this got you curious more about maybe S corporations, if you're wondering, well, is now the right time to make an S corporation election for my business? I've got a great video talking more about S corps and when it may or may not be a good opportunity to make an S Corp election for your business. You can check it out right here. I'll meet you over there. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.